And welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the very first episode of Talk with Antonio. I am your host, Antonio. And today I'm very honored to have my very first guest today. She is the biggest Bret Hart fan and also a sweetheart to talk with. If you meet her at wrestling conventions, you will not be sorry that she's very knowledgeable about this particular wrestler. I'm also a fan of Bret, so please give him a warm welcome to Angie. Welcome, Angie.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's great to talk to you again. How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm here and there, just working. You know how life is and such. I've heard that you went to Wrestlecon. Oh, man, I missed it, and I am not going to lie to you. I am still kicking myself in the head, but you know what? There's always going to be other times. So how was Wrestlecon?
It was good. It was exciting. It's my very first Wrestlecon. I've gone to other conventions, but this is probably the biggest conventions I've ever been to. And it was good. I was having fun.
Okay. So how many wrestlers would you say, ma'am, were there in that convention that day?
I probably have to say over 100. I'm not really sure the exact number.
Wow.
But it's hard to meet all of them, obviously.
So, like I said, I missed out. I know that I would say that I do remember, obviously, the main one, Bret Hart was there. The Godfather or Papa Shango, however you want to call him. What's his name? Kevin Nash was there, correct?
Yes.
Kevin Nash, what's his name? I know the Young Bucks were there, correct?
Yes.
The Young Bucks. I'm trying to remember. I'm racking my brain right now. The Young Bucks. The Steiner brothers. Well, actually, now it was just Scott Steiner because of what happened. Let me see who else. I just lost count. So, who was the first one to meet? Obviously, you probably left Bret for last. Am I right? Or he was the first one?
It was the other way around. The first one I met was Brutus Beefcake.
Oh, how was he?
He was nice. He was very nice. Yeah, I've always been wanting to meet him, and for many, many years. And when I saw he was there, I told myself I have to buy a ticket. This is my one time I get to actually go to WrestleCon, and I want to try to meet him. So I bought my ticket, and I met him, and he was the first one I spotted.
Brutus the Barber Beefcake. I always remember him. He was always, when I started watching him, I remember when he was with that big storyline with, I believe it was Money Incorporated, where it was one of like when Monday Night Raw first started. And I do remember hearing about this, is that it was Brutus the Barber Beefcake who was fighting. I don't know if it was Erwin R. Schuster or Ted DiBiase. And I do believe that, I do remember seeing that I believe it was Erwin R. Schuster who hit Brutus the Barber Beefcake in the face. He broke his nose. That's where at WrestleMania, WrestleMania 9, that's where Hulk Hogan came back and Brutus was wrestling with the mask, I do believe. That's how I knew him. And then in WCW, he became, correct me if I'm wrong, he became the Booty Man, right?
Yeah, at one point, yeah, he was the Booty Man.
I'm sorry. I don't know why I get a kick every time I hear the Booty Man. Like, and then he returned, but Angie, when he returned later on as the disciple, I didn't even recognize it was him. Do you remember? He was like he was all buffed up. He had a beard. He was wearing the sunglasses. I never realized that was Brutus the Barber, because to me he was always being known as Brutus the Barber Beefcake. But do you remember him as a disciple back in WCW?
Yeah, I do remember him.
Wow. Oh my God. I was like, I didn't even recognize him at first, but then I found out it was him. Like, what the fuck? Like, that was like a drastic change. He was jacked up. He had a long beard. Like, but then he just floundered away. But
Yeah, he looked completely different when he did that character.
which was the second wrestler you met that day after Brutus?
It was actually Bret.
Oh man, how was he?
He was good. He wasn't easy to. He was very easy to find because he was pretty much just around the corner from Brutus. I just walked like a few feet, forward, and then I spotted Nia Jax, and then Bret was right next to her.
Nia Jax was there.
Nia Jax was there. I got to meet her. She's really nice. She lost a lot of weight. She looks really good.
No comment on her, but who were the wrestlers who had the biggest lines? Was it Bret?
Well, Bret pretty much had the biggest line there.
Oh man, I mean,
there were other legends there that I thought were gonna have lines as well, but I'll be honest with you, they didn't really have lines. They didn't. But people still went up to them, but there was no lines. I think because that whole convention was so big and there was like different wrestlers in different rooms, so people were just wandering around from one room to another, to another, to another. So there was plenty of room to walk.
oh my, because like I remember when I went to go first meet Bret at the I think it was the Hilton. Yes, I forgot the name of the event. I don't remember exactly because that was like I had to take advantage to meet him. That would be probably like my only time. But like I said, I got the tickets like 2 months earlier. I arrived at the Hilton, and I was like, I remember when who was there that day? It was Melina. Who else was there but at the 2021? I forgot the name of the event. It had Melina.
The Alex Fabulous.
Yes, that's the one. I knew I forgot the name, but that one, Melina was there. What's his name? Kane was there. Scott Hall was there also when he was still alive, along with Kevin Nash. Also, the guy who makes me laugh a lot, Enzo Amore. That guy, he was there. But when Bret was arriving, I took pictures of the lines. I even saw it. I posted it on my old Twitter back then. It was pretty long, even from the outside. He had like you are right. Bret, people say that he didn't draw. That's something that I always take issue with. Bret does draw. I mean, you've seen the pictures, and you even said that there's always lines just to meet him. Like, sure, he looked like he could be serious, not talkative, but he's a very nice guy. You just got to get to know the guy. He'll open up, and that's what I learned from him. You even told me that. But people say he doesn't draw. I take issue with that. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, I mean, I think because he's very soft-spoken, people don't really. I don't think they see his like the way his personality is.
Mm-hmm.
They think he doesn't even have a personality, but in reality, he does. I mean, it's just like his normal self. He's very soft-spoken, and he's very calm. He's very laid back. And people confuse that.
And another thing I take issue with, Angie, is that people accuse Bret a lot for being bitter, that he cries too much, and then all he ever talks about is Montreal, Goldberg. Oh, Goldberg, we'll get into that later on. Even a very famous podcaster, Jason Solomon, said this, and that's where something I'm a huge fan of Jason Solomon. You probably heard about him. And he says that people accuse Bret of all he ever does talk about is Montreal. It's because they ask him about it. That's so he gives his answer. That's the way I see it. He doesn't really talk about it. It's because when they ask him, that's when he starts like to reveal what was going on.
And you're right, because he himself has said that he's tired of the same questions that they keep asking him. And when he does interviews, they keep asking him the Montreal question. And because he's such a nice person, that he'll still answer whatever questions they're gonna ask. And people just, when he makes news, every time he does an interview, people just focus on the negative. And he could do like a 2-hour interview, everything's very positive, and then one little line that sounds negative, it's like bait. And that's what they focus on. But yeah, Bret, he's tired of pretty much the same questions about Montreal. But like I said, he's a very nice person, and whatever questions they ask him, he will still answer them.
And people say, I've read the thing I always think about Bret. I mean, look, yes, I understand. Bret became a star around a time that the WWF was in a bad situation. We all know what was going on. That around '93, that's where Vince McMahon was trying to shy away from the jacked up steroid look like to people like Hulk Hogan, Hercules Fernandez, or any type of guy that looked like that, the Lex Lugers and whatnot. Even though Lex Luger was still around in WWF in '93, '94, but Vince McMahon was trying to shy away from those type of looks, and so they made Bret the star. It was not just him; it was Bret, it was Shawn Michaels, it was the late Razor Ramon, Diesel. People know him as Kevin Nash, and I don't know if you would add the 1, 2, 3 Kid there, and that's why they call it the New Generation. And we all know that at that time that also the WWF lost its major stars like Hulk Hogan, Macho Man. I mean, Macho Man was still with WWF, but he wasn't really wrestling. He was a commentator, and Macho didn't want to stop wrestling, and Vince wanted to keep him there. But so he went to WCW, and at that time the company was not doing well. So for people to say that he wasn't a draw, I mean, Bret did his best. And I read that stupid book, To Be the Man, and fucking Ric Flair, he says that Bret wasn't a draw, saying that Bret thinks he was a star in his own right, even though Bret Hart and Ric Flair are good friends now, which is good. But just reading that stupid book of his, like how he attacks Macho Man, I forgot which other wrestler, but the ones that he focused. Oh yeah, Mick Foley. He attacks Macho Man, and then he trashes Bret Hart in a very low class way. And I remember back in '04, Angie, that Bret released a long tirade. I do remember. I forgot the name of the website. And towards the end, Bret said this, and I quote, "In the words of Dick Cheney, go fuck yourself, Rick," unquote. And I was like, good, because I don't know, people like Ric Flair, I don't know, it's not just Ric Flair, other stars, even King Kong Bundy, the late King Kong Bundy, said that Bret and Shawn Michaels were, I don't care about Shawn Michaels, but I'm just saying what he says, that Bret and Shawn Michaels were terrible stars, terrible champions. But every people say, oh, Bret Hart sucked. Oh, I never saw him as a star. It's a lot of people. What is it that people didn't see in him? I thought he was great. He was a star. I mean, he did what he could during the New Generation era. Wouldn't you agree, Angie?
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Now, which other wrestler did you meet after Bret?
After Bret, I met Matt Hardy.
Oh, Jeff was not there?
Jeff was not there, no. But I did ask for him. I asked him how he's doing, and he said he's doing. I asked him if he's doing much better because of the, the stuff that he's been going through. So he told me he really answered me thank you for asking for him, but he is doing much better. I appreciate you asking for him.
Oh, that's. Yeah. You can tell that Matt Hardy's a very nice guy to meet.
Yeah, he's he was really really nice. He loved my hoodie that I was wearing that day.
Aw.
The Bret Hart hoodie that I had bought like a few weeks before Wrestlecon. I bought this Bret Hart hoodie online.
Aw. He praised it. He liked it a lot.
He loved it.
Aw.
After I met Bret and I was walking towards the back, and he was over there in that area, I decided to go meet him after because he was right really close. So I was like, oh, I'm gonna go meet Matt Hardy. So when I was paying for my ticket and stuff, he right away he saw me. He's like, I love your hoodie. And I was like, oh, thanks. And he's like, did you just buy it or have you had it for a while? I was like, no, actually I bought it a few weeks ago, but this is the first time I wear it. I want to wear it for this event, WrestleCon. And he goes, I really love your hoodie because it had the great big giant Bret Hart image in the front and in the back as well.
Aw. That's very sweet of him, man. I can tell. Like he's a very look like I don't know why I've always in regards to Matt, like I grew up watching the Hardy Boys also, like in the late 99 2000s. That's where they became, like, they were jobbers at first, but then lo and behold, look what they became, one of the biggest tag teams of all time. And when Matt became the Mattitude with Mattitude, I love Mattitude. And this is something gonna be a little bit controversial I'm about to say, but I think Matt Hardy, tell me if I'm right or wrong, or you don't have an opinion. I personally think, Angie, that Matt should have been the main event star and not Edge during that storyline.
I really don't have an opinion on that.
I don't know. I don't agree with it. Angie, this is something that I've always talked about, and that's something that I want to get into some other time. I really don't like how I don't know if it's Vince McMahon who gets a hard on or gets a fetish by doing these type of things, but I do remember, like, when the whole Matt Hardy and Lita storyline came, and then they did it as a storyline with Edge, and both Matt and Edge were professional about that, but I just don't like to see doing storylines with talking about, like, the personal issues. I see that's a no for me. And I don't know, like, do you have an opinion about that, or you have no comment about that?
No, it's true. I mean, I think about all the kids that watch wrestling, and that storyline with Lita and Edge, that big giant bed in the middle of the ring.
Oh yeah.
That to me was like too much. I understand that everybody loves all those, kind of goes back to the Attitude Era a little bit, but they don't realize that there's a lot of kids that watch wrestling too. So, that's something that, if I was the owner, I was like, no, you gotta think about the kids too, not just all the adults.
I've actually read that Lita didn't want to do that, but I believe that Vince McMahon put like a speculation: if you didn't do it, you're fired.
Right.
And even that story, that was like, that was a little bit too much for me. I do remember that, but going back to Matt, and I think that should have been Matt's moment, not Edge. I've always, like, I'm not saying I don't hate Edge. I've never hated the guy. I don't know. That's just, like I said, I've always felt that Edge, I don't know. I just never saw people say that they never saw Bret Hart as a main event guy, and I'm gonna say this: I never saw Edge as a main event guy. I mean, that's just me. And then he got the push that should have, in my opinion, that should have been for Matt Hardy. But that's just me, though. But I'm glad that you met Matt, and you could tell that he's a badass dude to meet. I'm glad that he commented on your hoodie. I actually now when I heard about this, I actually made me feel like, oh, that's so awesome. I like that.
Yeah, he was really, really nice. I wouldn't mind meeting him again, but this time with Jeff,
And who was after Jeff? I mean, Matt. I'm sorry.
After Matt, Ted DiBiase.
Oh, everybody's got a price.
I had met him once before, and this was back in 1996. It was for WrestleMania weekend, WrestleMania 12 weekend.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I told him about it that, I had met him once before, 1996, WrestleMania weekend, and he goes, really, where exactly did you meet me? And I couldn't remember the place, so I told him, you know what, I can't remember the location, but I did get to meet you, and when I saw you here, I had to come and meet you again and get an updated picture. I wanted an updated picture.
I'm trying to see. Was Ted DiBiase still with WWF at that time? I would say yes, he was still there. I don't think he.
At WrestleMania weekend.
Yeah, he was, because I remember that he left after. I think it was when Stone Cold Steve. Well, he was still known as the. I don't know. Yeah, he was now known as Stone Cold Steve Austin, and he wrestled against Savio Vega, if I remember correctly, and that's when. And then that's when Ted DiBiase said on camera, he said there's a speculation that if Stone Cold leaves, I will leave the world. I'll never forget it. It's like, if Stone Cold leaves, I will leave the World Wrestling Federation, which Stone Cold lost, Ted DiBiase left, and then I don't know if it was the following day or week, I don't remember exactly. That's when Stone Cold Steve Austin was on commentary saying, I lost him because I wanted to get rid of him. And you know the rest is history. So, but you met him. That's pretty cool. So, who was after Ted DiBiase?
Ted DiBiase. After Ted DiBiase, I believe it was Scott Steiner.
Oh man,
Scott Steiner. Yeah.
It was just Scott Steiner.
Yes.
No Rick Steiner, because we all know that originally it was going to be the Steiner brothers, but I think the Wrestlecon, I believe, pulled him out because of, correct me if I'm wrong, that they pulled Scott Steiner out because he was making transphobic comments to another wrestler, correct?
Yeah, that's what I heard. The day that I got there, I had to work the whole week, and Wrestlecon was 4 days, starting from Thursday all the way to Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
I only went on Saturday, April 1st, because that was the only day off I had from work. And so when I got there, it was just Scott Steiner. I didn't see Rick. So that incident must have happened either that same day before I got there, or maybe the day before.
Mm-hmm. So how was Scott Steiner? How was his demeanor? How was his attitude towards the fans?
I was hesitant to actually walk up to him because of, like his gimmick, his character. It was pretty intimidating, and I was like, okay, I gotta just suck it up. This is my once-in-a-lifetime chance, and I may not have an opportunity to meet him again, so here I go. So I went up to him, and I asked him if I could take a picture, and he was pretty calm. He was very nice. He was laid back. He wasn't that talkative, but he was very friendly, and he did allow me to take a picture with him, and I took my picture. That was pretty much it, because he really wasn't talkative, but he was nice.
Like, I remember watching the Steiner brothers growing up. Oh man, I would consider them the top 10, probably best tag teams of all time. Like, to me, the number one has to be I don't know if you'll agree with me, the Road Warriors. Oh man, I watching them in the old pictures. Now because of YouTube, you could watch them wrestle. Like, those were like some big scary motherfuckers. But sadly, though, both of them have passed away recently. The one who passed away was I believe Road Warrior Animal. Man, this, it sucks that just hearing like the people that you grew up watching on TV are like just like pass away. And Road Warrior Animal, he wasn't that old, 60 years old. He was pretty young. Oh, actually, he was young. I'm not saying super young, but he was young. The youngest one to die of the Road Warriors was Hawk. He died at the age of 48 of a heart attack, which back in 2003, I do remember very, very vividly. I remember hearing about that. And it sucks, though, Angie, that both of I would have given anything to meet the Road Warriors, but sadly, never happened. There's nothing I can do. But then the second one would be the Steiner brothers. Probably they're considered. I would consider them one of the best tag teams. Third, obviously, would be the Hart Foundation. But the Steiner brothers, I wish, it's a shame, Angie, that guy had to make those stupid comments. If he had not made those stupid comments, you would have taken a picture with both of them, like the Steiner brothers in general. If it was just Scott, because of that guy who couldn't just keep his mouth shut, or his negative views on. I won't get into detail about that, but it just angers me that if he would just kept his mouth shut, you would have taken both pictures with the Steiner brothers. But Scott is he's still fucking awesome nonetheless. He was like the biggest star when they split back in WCW. But it is what it is, Angie. That's nothing. No one can do about it.
Yeah.
So who was after Scott Steiner?
Actually, I'm gonna go a few steps back because I forgot to mention one.
Okay.
Lex Luger. I got to meet Lex Luger at Wrestlecon.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
How was he?
He was nice. He was very nice. He didn't talk much either, but he did, I asked him how he was doing, and he said he's doing good. He was doing, the best the best at the moment. He's in pretty good health at the moment, even though he's in a wheelchair.
He's still in the wheelchair?
He's still in a wheelchair.
Oh, man.
I think he could walk a little bit and stuff. He could get up and take a few steps here and there. But yeah, the day that I met him, he was in the wheelchair. Yeah.
Oh, man. Because I remember him. Like I said, when I started watching wrestling, I knew him as the narcissist Lex Luger, and then he became the whatchamacallit, the All-American hero, because I do believe that Vince was trying to recreate another Hulk Hogan with him, but they failed miserably. I'm sorry. And then he became aligned with the late Davey Boy Smith, British Bulldog. They became the Allied Powers. I do remember that vividly. And then in '95, he left for WCW, and he stayed there until it closed down. But do you ever wonder why he never went back to the WWE or WWF at that time? You ever wondered?
I never really thought about it, no.
Is it from back then? The internet was still young, but I do remember it's because of the way he left. Because like, how did you knew about Lex Luger? By watching WCW or watching old WWF stuff?
Pretty much WWE. WWF.
Did you knew him as a narcissist?
Yeah, I got to see him as a narcissist.
He debuted. I remember that was my first pay-per-view, Royal Rumble '93. That's where the late Bobby Heenan introduced him as the narcissist, and then he left for WCW. But from what I read, and I do remember hearing, is that this dude was working without a contract at WWF. And supposedly he was what they call on a handshake deal. He just kept his word, and Vince McMahon actually believed that he actually appeared at I don't remember if it was a house show or a pay-per-view. I don't remember, but that was like the very last time that he appeared. He saved. I don't remember exactly who he saved, but he came in running. But then the next day, that's where he showed up at the debut of Monday Nitro. I do remember seeing it because that's when I started had cable, and when he debuted on Nitro, I was like, "Oh shit!" That was like the beginning of the Monday Night Wars when Lex Luger showed up from at that time the WWF to WCW. It's because of Sting, though. He came back, and Eric Bischoff. He even said, I read his book, that he was never a fan of him on a professional or on a personal level. And this is something that I kind of see as very petty. I don't know, what do you think? And he says that he was never a fan of Lex Luger is because he blames for the death of Miss Elizabeth. Would you agree?
That's like a touchy subject, but I'll be honest, I really don't know if he is to blame. I mean, yes, she did pass away in his house, but like nobody was there besides them too, so we don't really know what happened.
Exactly.
wasn't, I don't know.
And it's funny, Angie, with Lex Luger. That was another guy that, I mean, he was okay. I was never really a fan of him, but I wouldn't say I hated the guy, but I just never really paid attention to him, because I do remember when, I don't know if he was still, I think he was still with WCW, but when it was sold, when WCW was sold to WWF at that time, I do remember watching both Raw and Nitro, and when Vince came out and they asked the fans there, it was like, give me a thumbs up and thumbs down. And I do remember when he said with Hulk Hogan, there was a lot of thumbs down and boos. And when he said Lex Luger, it was a lot of thumbs down, and there's even boos. Look it up on YouTube, and you tell me. And then he never I do believe, I remember back in 2003 that Lex Luger was still in good shape, and he was trying to go back to WWE, and I guess they never really answered his calls. I mean, do you think he could have had another run at that company, or do you think he was just done by then?
In 2003, you said?
Yes.
I don't know. I really don't know.
There's always the what ifs, Angie. It's like, I mean, who knows if he could have had another run, but I don't know. We'll never know. Only Lex and Vince know. We don't know. Yeah. I don't know. You don't know. So it's all speculation, So who was the next wrestler you met after Lex Luger?
Well, obviously it was after Lex. It was Ted DiBiase, and then it was Scott Steiner.
Mm-hmm.
And then after Scott Steiner, it was Nia Jax.
How was she?
She was nice. She was very talkative. We actually had like a 10-minute, about 7 to 10-minute conversation.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, she was extremely nice. And first thing I told her, you look really good, because I hadn't seen her in such a long time on TV. So I was like, you look really good. And she was, thank you. And she was, hi, what's your name? And I said, my name is Angie. And nice to meet you, Angie, and this and that. So yeah, we were chit-chatting for about 10 minutes. I figure it was around 10 minutes, because it pretty much felt like 10 minutes. Asking me where I work, who's my favorite wrestler, who have I met, and all these other questions. And we were just interacting, just chit-chatting back and forth. Mm-hmm. She was extremely nice. Nice.
And, I'm one of those guilty ones. Like I said, I'm one of those guilty ones. I kind of did trash her on the internet. I mean, would you say that she was a hack of a wrestler?
I mean, she did hurt people. I know it wasn't intentional, but she made her mistakes, and hopefully if she ever gets back, or whatever company she goes back to, whether it's WWE or some other company, hopefully she's better.
But with Nia, it's there was a lot of speculation that prior she was never fired, because since she was part of the Anoya family, and because they didn't want to anger The Rock, that's why they didn't fire her. I guess they fired her during what happened with the COVID firings in WWE back in 2020, and I know for a fact that she, I don't think she did appear at a Royal Rumble. I don't know if it was this year. I don't remember, because I did hear that she did make an appearance at Royal Rumble, but
yeah, I think it was maybe about, I don't know if it was a year before or 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember exactly.
Me neither. I just heard about it, but she did. A lot of people say that she didn't want to learn at all. Like, I don't know. It's all speculation, all gossip and hearsay. But I remember that she did hurt, what's her name, Becky Lynch. And that's when Becky had that iconic moment when she was all bloodied up. Because you can tell that Nia really punched her on purpose. Like, really, really hard. I don't know. I'm sorry. I take back the on purpose. But she punched her really, really hard, and that's when she had all that bloody nose and such. But I was like, ooh, that looked like it was painful. But like I said, I'm sorry. I am one of the guilty ones, but yeah, but I'm glad that she was very, very cool with you. And 10 minutes, that's a lot. That says a lot about her, you know?
Yeah, I figured it was between 7 to 10 minutes. That's what it felt like at that moment, you know? Yeah, so we had a very nice conversation.
I'm glad to hear that, Angie. I'm very, very glad. So who was next afterwards?
That day I only got to meet about 8 wrestlers.
Mm-hmm.
So I believe it was probably the last one, which was Godfather.
Oh, was that guy?
Oh my god, he was funny. I went in there thinking I was gonna get one picture with him. I ended up getting 3.
Oh, wow.
And a video. And that video was from my brother, because I went on and on about my brother.
Mm-hmm.
Because my brother was like, when he was watching the Attitude Era, Godfather was one of his favorite gimmick wrestlers. And every time he came on, and my brother was like, I'm watching the whole thing. And I was like, okay. So when I told him that he was there, he goes, oh man, I wish he could have been there. So when I went up to him, I told him, you know what, really nice meeting you. My brother is a big fan of yours, and he really wanted to be here, but he had to work.
Mm-hmm.
And he was really looking forward to meeting you besides other wrestlers. But unfortunately, he couldn't make it. And that's when he told me, what's your brother's name? And I said, my brother's name is Philip. And he goes, well, you know what? Let's do something for your brother.
Oh.
He goes, pull out your cell phone and let's record something for your brother. And I said, you mean like a video? And he goes, yeah, let's do a video for your brother. And I said, okay. So that was his idea. The video thing was his idea. So I just pushed the little record thing, and he went on and made that video for my brother. And you know, when I got home, I surprised him. I didn't tell him about it. I surprised him. I put it on his Facebook.
Aww.
I tagged him to it, and next thing you know, he was like,
That's very, very thoughtful from the Godfather. But I knew him as when I was a little kid. He was a scary looking motherfucker. I knew him as Papa Shango. Oh man, he really. I remember. I'll never forget this. Like now, is considered the most ridiculous storyline of all time. Is where that he put a curse on the late Ultimate Warrior, and he started like.
He came back at WrestleMania 8. Yeah, I remember. I actually have WrestleMania 8 recorded, so I have that.
Well, hold on. I'm trying to remember. Where was WrestleMania 8 at? I believe it was at the. I'm trying to remember. It was at the what is now no. It got demolished at the RCA Dome and in the state of Indiana, Indianapolis. That I do remember. It was also the day that Bret Hart fought against the late Roddy Piper for the Intercontinental title. That I would have given anything to meet Piper, but it is what it is. So,
I'm grateful I got to meet him.
oh, how was he?
Very nice. Out of all the wrestlers I've ever met, he's one of the very nicest.
Who was the most, you could say, rudest or standoffish?
None. I've been blessed that all of them that I've met throughout the years, none of them have been rude to me. None of them. Thank God.
Well, you know, I'm glad to hear that because I've had, like in terms of wrestlers I've met, like I said, like the one that I always said, the only one that I met, the only one that I want to met, Bret, super duper cool guy. But other than that, like that's pretty much it. But the Godfather, it looks like he's a hoot to meet. He's very kind, and I know for a fact that he's a very close friend of the Undertaker. Because I remember hearing a story that I believe it was the Undertaker who was on Broken Skull. I don't know. I forgot it was Stone Cold podcast, and Undertaker was talking about how he got his first tattoo. And the Godfather, who was him with him that day was the Godfather and the late Paul Bearer. That's where he had the first tattoo right here, that big one with that gravedigger. And the Godfather was there with him. It was like, oh wow. And who else did you meet after the Godfather that day?
He was the last one that I met, actually.
Oh really?
Wrestlecon was expensive, so I didn't have a lot of money to meet a lot of wrestlers. And like I said, when I first got there, I just went in there thinking I was just going to meet 2 wrestlers, and I came out of it meeting 8 wrestlers.
Oh wow.
So, yeah, WrestleCon was pretty expensive, but like for one wrestler, majority of them cost for like a picture. It was about $50 each.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that again?
$50 each.
Oh wow.
To get for a prop. Some of them were $60. Some of them were $40. The majority of them were $50 each for one picture.
Did you had an idea? Who do you think was the most expensive one?
I can't really say. The price range was about the same. When I bought my Bret Hart tickets, I had bought that online before I even got to the convention. I bought that like a week before.
Mm-hmm.
But I bought the combo deal with him. Because he's the only one that I would want his autograph.
Mm-hmm.
But with everybody else, is really I just really want the picture. I don't really care for the autograph.
Mm-hmm.
But
Fair enough.
It has to be both.
Fair enough. I respect that.
Every time I meet him, I always take pictures with him, and the next time I meet him, I always take my previous picture for him to sign, and then I take a new one during that date.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how I have my all my pictures are all signed and dedicated. I always have to have a ticket for an autograph for a picture when it comes to Bret.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's fair enough, and I would say to me, you probably pardon, sorry about that. And Angie, like I've just hearing you talk how you express yourself about Bret and everything, and that to me is probably like I would say you're probably like the best. I'm a Bret Hart fan, but I would say I'm just peanuts. You could say you love Bret, you have everything, you have stuff, and I to me you have my mad respect because and you went to meet him like all these other conventions here in LA, which is pretty that to me is a good track record if you ask me. And
at WrestleCon, this is the 12th time that I've met him.
And he always remembers you, right?
Yeah, well, once he sees me, he'll remember me. He's not good with names because there's still times where he asks me what my name is. But when it comes to faces, he remembers.
That's the same thing with me. Like I can right now, I don't forget a lot of things, but I am forgetting like certain things in life. But a face is something I do not forget. That's something I do not forget at all.
When we went to the 2021 convention, the LA Fest,
mm-hmm.
Remember I told you that his promoter was one of my friends? Well, that day he took me all the way to Bret Hart's private room, the room at the hotel that it was being held on.
Mm-hmm.
And he took me up there like half an hour before his signing began. And there was me, two of his girls that worked for him, and him. So there were 4 of us going up to his room to hang out with Bret before he got called down to start pictures.
Oh, that's freaking cool.
All 5 of us were in his room, just sitting around, just chit-chatting and killing time until it was time for Bret to go to, go do his pictures and all that stuff. So yeah, it was right there when I took my picture with him. Mm-hmm. And at that time, how COVID was more
prevalent.
So everybody had to have their mask on.
Mm-hmm.
When I was up there, in his room, I asked him if I could take a picture with him, and he said yeah, and I said, is it okay if I could take it without the mask? And all he asked me was that if I was vaccinated. brought my vaccination card if you want to see it. And he said, no, that's okay. I trust you. So he allowed me to take the picture with my mask. And I think out of everybody in that convention, I was the only one he allowed to take
Fair enough.
picture with the mask off. And that was before he actually got to the room where all the fans were. But yeah, and then he sent me his condolences for my parents because my parents died in 2020. Both of them. My mom of COVID. My dad had a heart attack 6 months before my mom. And so
Condolences.
his promoter, my friend, he had told Bret at the times that my parents passed away, he had called and told Bret, what's been happening with my parents and what's been going on with me.
Mm-hmm.
So that day at the convention, he gave me his condolences for my parents. He said he couldn't believe everything that I've gone through. And even one of her staff members one of the girls had asked me, Angie, how are you still standing? You lost friends both on the same year.
Mm-hmm.
And then my family went through a fire in September of that same year. And our backyard pretty much came down in flame. So
I'm
we
sorry.
went through so much. My family in 2020, that was the worst year of my life. And one of the girls told me, how are you even standing? And I told her, day by day. That's all I could say. Just taking it day by day.
You're a strong woman, Angie. Believe me.
And then, but Bret gave me his condolences for my parents. And then he signed my picture from the previous time that I had met him, which was in 2018.
Mm-hmm.
And because that day of the convention was my birthday. So he signed it, happy birthday, Angie, love Bret the Hitman Hart. And, that same day of the convention was the day of my actual birthday, and it was also Kurt, the promoter's birthday. So me and him had the same birthday. So we're celebrating the same birthday with Bret Hart.
No, that's so cool.
That never happens for a fan,
You're one of the lucky ones, I would say, that you get to celebrate with one of my childhood idols. That's they say, fucking A. Fucking A. That mad respect there.
And, they told me I was going to be part of his posse that day.
Aww. That's so nice.
I don't know if you remember when we went down to the picture area, they told me to sit on the side with the other two girls. So I was sitting there, and then one of the security people, they're like really tall, this really tall man, he came up to me at one point, and I don't even remember, he gave me the little hand sanitizer bottle, and I look up, and he's giving me the hand sanitizer bottle, and I'm thinking, okay, I'm like, is this for me? And he goes, no, this is for Bret. And I go, okay, so why are you giving me? I was thinking, like, what are you giving it to me for? And he told me that I was going to be his hand sanitizer girl, so whenever he wanted hand sanitizer, I was the one that was going to pour the hand sanitizer. And I actually kept it, and I have it here in my room.
That is so awesome. Oh my God.
So I was like, oh my God. So every time Bret came over to me, he was already going like this, and I was just pouring the hand sanitizer. And
Oh, that is so awesome.
Right. Don't spill it.
That's
So I would ask him, I go, let me know if you need more. So he said, no, that's pretty good. Thank you. So he would,
wow.
hands that he would take pictures with, he would come and sit at the chair right next to where I was sitting just to rest because, everything's gone through medical-wise. He can't be standing for a long time. He has to be sitting down at some point, and then he could, he needs moments to be sitting down. So there were times where he would take pictures with group of fans, and then he would go and sit down for maybe about 2 or 3 minutes, and then he'd go back up. So he would sit at the chair next to me.
Oh wow, that is so awesome. You were part of his clique.
Yeah.
That is so awesome.
They called it the Bret Hart posse.
Exactly. Oh yeah, I'm sorry. Why did I even use that word? I'm sorry. The posse, because every time we all even when we were in school, there was always cliques, but when I was growing up, I remember saying Click. It was just that little group with fucking Shawn Michaels, Kevin Nash, the late Razor Ramon, 1-2-3 Kid, and Triple H. That's I'm sorry. Your posse. Yeah, I'm sorry. Why did you use that word? But that is so awesome, man. Yeah, I'm just. But still, you were part of it nonetheless.
Yeah, and then we ended up taking a group picture. But we had all of us had the mask on, so I was the shortest one, but I'm in there, and he signed it for me. So, and then when I showed him the picture that I took with him in his room, when I went to Wrestlecon, the moment I put it on the table, right away he recognized the picture, and he goes, "This is from 2 years ago, isn't it?" I go, "Yeah, you remember?" And he goes, "Yeah." He goes, "In fact, what's the name of the convention?" And he couldn't remember. At one point, I couldn't remember either, and I said, "It's the LA Snap Fest." And he goes, "That's the one." And I told him, "Well, do you remember when Kurt took me up there?" And he goes, "Yeah, that's why I recognized the picture." And so, yeah. And so I gave him my condolences for Kurt's passing as well. And I told him that me and Kurt were friends for 12 years.
Oh, wow.
And the day that he passed away on Christmas Eve, and I had actually texted him on Christmas Day to wish him Merry Christmas, and I never got a response. So I was explaining that to Bret. And he told me that, that Kurt was a really, really good friend of his. They were like brothers, and he misses him a lot.
Did they ever know? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I told him that it's hard to even be at Wrestlecon without having Kurt there because he was his main promoter and he was everywhere with Bret.
Did they ever find out what did Kurt die of?
Yeah, he died in his sleep and he had a heart attack while he was asleep.
Oh shit! Well, at least he didn't feel any pain though. That's the thing, Angie. Is I don't know. It's like whenever I hear like people die in their sleep of heart attacks, I think it's like the best way because a lot of people, when they're alive, they have heart attacks. It's a sucky way to die. Like, I remember hearing about Macho Man when he died back in 2011, that he was driving and he was having a heart attack while driving, and I guess his wife was the one who pulled the steering wheel and they crashed into a tree. She had like a few cuts and bruises, but he died of a heart attack while driving. Also, the late Ultimate Warrior, he said that when he came back from WrestleMania and then he did that Raw, the following day he returned home, he was walking to his car and he just grabbed his chest and boom, died of a heart attack. It's a sucky way to die though. But how is Bret doing in regards to his friend who passed away? Is he okay?
With Kurt?
Yes.
Yeah, he's doing okay. It's been over a year. It's almost going to be 2 years in December since I'll say our friend because he's our mutual friend because he was my friend for 12 years as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, I miss him a lot. Not only because of everything he did for me involving Bret, but I just miss our friendship because off and on he would call me or I'll call him or I'll text him how he's doing.
Mm-hmm.
So he would always keep up with me like, "Hey Angie, how are you doing? Just checking up on you. I'm doing good. Thank you for thinking about me." And he goes, "Always, okay, take care of yourself. I'll call you later." I go, "Okay."
Mm-hmm.
He would always call me or text me, like that. So yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry about your friend. It's like it sucks when friends like that, good people die. It's just.
Yeah.
I don't know what to say about that, Angie. Other than that, I'm sorry. So that was like the last wrestler you met that day was the Godfather.
The Godfather was the last one I met there.
Oh, okay. So did you had a great time?
I did. I didn't want to leave, but the convention ended about 2:30 because everybody was gonna go. Gonna start going to the WrestleMania event because this was on Saturday when I went, and WrestleMania was 2 days, so it was Saturday and Sunday. So whoever bought tickets to go to WrestleMania after the convention, they were heading over to the stadium.
Okay, that's fair enough. But I just, like I said, sorry if I keep repeating the same thing. I just kicked myself in the head that I couldn't meet Bret. But you know what? There will be other times, hopefully. Because I know for a fact that Bret, I don't know for how long he'll be doing more wrestling conventions. I hope I just maybe just one more time if I could meet him, that would be great though. But like I said, he's tired. He just wants to spend time in his house, retire, be with his wife and such. But who knows? I just all I can say, Angie, is that maybe down the road he'll be back. How often does he come to Los Angeles?
Well, when Kurt was around and during all the time that I was friends with Kurt,
Mm-hmm.
most of the time we would be coming to LA, maybe for California, maybe about once or twice a year.
Wow, like right now, he hasn't made it. Well, he made this year, so but this is probably like the last time he'll come to LA this year, correct?
Probably. I'm not really sure. That I know of right now, I don't know of any dates for this year. But hopefully, if he doesn't come back this year, I'm hoping he'll come back next year. I
Mm-hmm.
really don't know. But I will tell you this, and this is going to lead to my petition, because at Wrestlecon, I gave him an update on my petition.
Oh yeah, how is that thing going?
Okay, so my goal was to reach 10,000.
Mm-hmm.
Back in 2021, when we went to the last convention, it was up at 7,000 something.
Holy shit!
And I gave him an update when we were in his room before we went down to the convention, and I showed him my petition, and it was at 7,000 something. And he himself said, "Oh, we're getting there." You know, he said, "We're not you're getting there. We're
Mm-hmm.
getting there."
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, and then this time around, I gave him another update. I go, "I'm here. First of all, to meet you and to, I always come, and also to give you an update on my petition." And I showed him the updated petition. I reached 10,000. I actually passed 10,000.
Holy shit!
And I had told them that the Monday before of that same week of WrestleCon, I emailed the petition over to the museum, and I even called them to let them know first of all, to find out if and they did receive it, and I would get an email anytime soon after that. So I told Bret I'm supposed to get an email. The museum passed my petition. I'm just expecting an email to see what they're going to tell me about it.
Mm-hmm.
Once I get an update, or a number, I'll let you know what's going on, and I'll figure out a way to contact you.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have Kurt to help me contact you, so he said, no, he appreciated what I've been doing for him.
Mm-hmm.
I told him, now that the museum has the petition, it's in their hands. I told them I really want for you because you deserve it, and I'm just hoping that they don't tell me otherwise, because I really don't want to disappoint you. And he looked at me and he goes, "No, he will never disappoint me."
And I believe him. I firmly believe him. But I've seen the petition. It's pretty big. A lot of people have signed up. And is it for the Hollywood Wax Museum here in Hollywood?
Yeah, that's the one I'm aiming for. The Madame Tussauds.
Mm-hmm.
That's the one I'm aiming for. They did email me back 2 days after the convention, after the Wrestlecon,
Mm-hmm.
and they told me that, first of all, they congratulated me for my efforts, and that I managed to get all those signatures.
Mm-hmm.
And they told me that if they don't have a spot for him in the museum in Hollywood, that they were gonna try to get him into either the one in Orlando, the one in New York, the one in Vegas, or another one in San Francisco.
How is it possible they do not? I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I have to say this. How is it possible they don't have a space here for the Wax Museum in Hollywood?
I think it has to do because I don't know if they consider him to be like a Hollywood type of celebrity. I'm thinking that's probably the reason why. I'm not really sure. But I told them, you know what? I done here in the one in Hollywood. I told them once, hopefully, I would say the next one best for me would be the one in Vegas, because it's hard for me to even travel to a different state. So, I told them if it can be done in Hollywood, can you please try your best to try to get it done in Vegas. So, right now they're reviewing my petition.
Mm-hmm.
It was going to take some time, but right now it's in the process. It's being reviewed. So, I actually called them a few days ago to see if there's an update, because the last time I contacted them was 2 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
And the marketing people weren't there that day, so they jotted down my information, my phone number, my email,
Mm-hmm.
and they told me they were going to let them know that I had called. So, yeah, I mean, it's being processed right now. It takes time, so that's all I know so far. So I'm trying to get it there.
And you have been working your butt off getting that petition, and
I've been working on it for almost 6 to 7 years.
wow, that's dedication right there. That is dedication right there. You've mad respect right there. Well, Angie, it's just like excuse me. All I can say, Angie, is I just hope they can make it at least to the one in Las Vegas. That would be awesome, because I've only been to the Wax Museum here in LA just once in my life, and there are some figures there that are like no talent hacks. I'm not gonna say the names. That's all I'll say. They should just maybe. I know I'm being biased, but they should just remove one at least and put him there. That's just my opinion, though. But like I said, I'm just being biased. That's just being me, though. But.
And wherever, hopefully, if it's not the one here, hopefully it's one in Vegas. And if it is either one, I can't wait for the unveiling, because the unveiling, he actually gets to go there and witness his own unveiling.
That would be, and I would love for Bret to see that, because if they unveil that wax figure, that would be fucking awesome. That's just me.
Not only that, but they invite fans to be a witness, and then they have the media, cameras,
Mm-hmm.
media everywhere. And I definitely want to be there, obviously, because I'm the one that made this.
Oh yeah, you're the one responsible for that.
So, I gotta be there.
Yeah, you're responsible for that. All I can say, Angie, is that I'm rooting for you nonetheless, and it's just that right now, like I said, I just hope keep up the good work. I'll say that, Angie, keep up the good work, and also that's all I can say is keep up the good work, and don't ever stop trying. Don't ever stop, and I really do hope they put him up. That's what I'm gonna say about that.
Yeah, I mean, it's already submitted. It's already there. I mean, my petitioning days are over. I reached my goal. Now that they have it, it's in their hands. So I'm just praying that, it's being done either here or there, but hopefully not in the other states, because it's too far for me. So.
Well, Las Vegas is just a 3-hour or 4-hour drive, depending on traffic, though. Oh yeah, but
That's why that would be my backup. If it's not here in Hollywood, I want it to be in Vegas, because my family tends to go to Vegas a lot, so off and on. So yeah, that would be my best.
Well, all we can do is just hopefully let's see what happens. Let's see what the future holds for that. So you planning on going to other wrestling conventions this year in LA? If there's other ones, that is.
I haven't heard of any of them yet. I still go to the little wrestling shop here in my area. The last time I went there, I met Melina, and that was like 2 months ago. And they're starting to book a few more names, but they're not too famous. They just announced one yesterday for September 24th, which is the day before my birthday.
Mm-hmm.
But they managed to get Tyler Breeze for that day.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
I was hoping it would be somebody, somebody more like
More star power.
Yeah, but when I heard Tyler Breeze, I was like, okay, I was expecting somebody just a little bit higher than that.
Like maybe hopefully like you never know, maybe like Sting or Rob Van Dam.
Yeah, I was hoping for a name like that, but no, they mentioned Tyler Breeze, and I'm like, ooh, okay, I might not go to that one.
Yeah, but that's respectable. So in closing, Angie, what else do you want to say to the people here in the podcast world?
Just to keep encouraging you, just keep listening. You do a great job as a podcaster.
Thank you.
I've had a great time being interviewed by you, not only today, but the last time you interviewed me, which was about 3 years ago. I always have a blast talking to you, so whoever's listening, just, keep listening, keep cheering him on so he could have his podcast for a very long time.
Thank you very much, Angie. That means everything. What you said, those are very good, very kind words. Thank you so much, Angie. So, well, that about wraps up for this evening's episode. So I'd like to say to all people, thank you all for listening. And I want to wish you all say a good night. And thank you once again, Angie, for appearing on my show. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, and have a great night, ladies and gentlemen.